I think I'm saying that we struggle all our lives to answer it. That it's the struggle that is important. That's what helps us to define our place in the universe.
This is Beverly, Dr. Beverly, Dr. Beverly Crusher.
Look where we are. Here, all of us, in this moment. So let's do what we spent our entire lives learning to be great at.
And this is Crusher Convo. And welcome to Crusher Convo. We're crushing the conversation one episode at a time. We are jumping into a conflict between the Andorians and the Vulcans. And to help create this peace between them is new guest and Star Trek fan, John. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
So excited. I saw you dancing.
Star Trek Las Vegas shirt just for that.
Oh, yay. So when was the last time you went to STLV?
I went 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it was great. And it is unlike, I'm a big Comic-Con guy. Love to go to them. It was unlike any Comic-Con I've ever been to. And that was fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah. That's the one I didn't get to go to the one 2 years ago. So two ships. I went to 22, 23, and 25, but I skipped.
Oh, really?
Right. Okay, next time.
I didn't see you there, I guess. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. But you know what? Before we get started, I'm going to jump in and talk about the sponsors. So use the code CrusherConvo6 to get 6% off your order over at myterrytree.com if you love Borg computers, a kitty on Borgs, or right now they're trying to showcase even new mouse pads and USB sticks, especially for STLV. Go ahead and use that code. And then also fan sets. You go ahead to their website at fansets.com, use the code TrekGeeks to get 10% off of your order, and of course follow them on the socials at Cherry Tree Incorporated and Fansets. So wanted to do that real fast. Now, John, my question for you, since it is the 60th anniversary, what female character do you find inspiring?
Well, I thought about this because you tipped me off to this question beforehand. And so I'm going to give you one that maybe will shock you, but it's Philippa Georgiou.
Okay. I like this.
I think she's everything a female character in Star Trek is: smart, talented, capable, does a great job of switching in midstream, always kind of analyzing. She's just kind of, she went from this antagonist to suddenly this protagonist, but she's always kind of on the edge, a little bit in the gray area. And I like that a lot. I mean, my only regret with that is that, I was so looking forward to Section 31 and it turned out to be not great. So
not great. I know we've seen a lot of division when it comes to Star Trek fans, right? Particularly between Discovery and Academy. However, there really isn't any division when it comes to Section 31. Everyone's like, nope.
There's not. No. I mean, and so my favorite Trek iteration is Deep Space Nine. And so that's kind of where the ball for that got rolling. And so when she popped in and that kind of started to play out, I thought, I was really excited. This was the one I was really excited because I thought we were going to have kind of a noir kind of, thing. And she's so smart, but, basically they just they gave her one-liners and super sexualized.
Yeah.
She's smart and capable and really, it just didn't hit the right notes for me at all. I was very disappointed.
Oh, I'm sure. Especially like let's say if they did like a Beverly Crusher, Mirror Universe and everything, and they just kind of dropped the ball, I would be so upset, right? Yeah. Like I would just be like, they just ruined the character. Now, do you like both iterations of Philippa, like, Mirror Universe and non-Mirror Universe, or are you particularly more on one side?
No, I like her. I just like her in general. She's the real deal, and I like that.
Yeah.
And when she came aboard, she just sort of changed the dynamics of everybody that she was around because she was so forward, so out there, so willing to challenge norms and normal thought. And I just thought, I like that character a lot. So yeah, when they were going to focus on her, I thought, man, I'm in all the way on this thing. I got about
Yeah.
3 episodes into it and went, oh, come on. You're making her a caricature. Don't do
Yeah.
that. So,
I
anyway.
know. I mean, I think Michelle Yeoh felt the same way, right? When she was asked to go on Star Trek.
Yeah, she must have been looking around going, what's all these kind of these pseudo-sexual one-liners I'm throwing out
know.
there? Give me some dialogue. So
Yeah. I mean, you could tell that Section 31 was supposed to be like a television show, right?
Mhm.
Because that's what it was supposed to be. This was like their, pilot. And then it was like, and we're done. And that's where it was just like, we need more context. Like, even killing off some of the characters, it was like, okay, I don't care because we only knew them for 20 seconds,
yeah, they're just I'm a big backstory guy anyway, so I like that kind of thing going on. And we had some of her, but it just landed flat. You almost think they really didn't know what they wanted to do with this, and I'm sure they had an idea, but it didn't. At least for my mind,
didn't land. Yeah. It definitely did not land for sure. But I mean, fortunately for us, I think this episode that we're going to be talking to did land pretty well. And of course, I am talking about Ceasefire from Star Trek Enterprise. And let's go ahead and start it with a clip.
Ironic. They weren't overly enthusiastic about you taking command of Enterprise in the first place, and now your presence is crucial to their interests.
It's crucial to ours, too.
Maybe
We're not out here to just scan comets and meet new species. Maybe we're out here to prove that humanity's ready to join a much larger community. I intend to do that.
All right, so Ceasefire, air date is February 12th, 2003. It was directed by David Straighton. In-universe date is unknown, but of course it was 2152 and written by Chris Black. And of course, we do have some people in the comments. There is Sean and Ruth. And of course, Sean was awesome. And that's basically what we will be discussing. Jeffrey Combs obviously has played a lot of memorable characters, but I think Sean really does stand out. And this is another reason, another good episode to really show how much he has stood out, especially in the Star Trek universe. Is there a moment in here, particularly with Shran, that you enjoyed so much? We're seeing this conflict between the Vulcans and the Andorians, and you're kind of wondering where it might be leading. Were you more like team Andorians or team Vulcans in all of this?
Well, I'm with Team Vulc or Team Andorian in this. I mean, it's interesting in Enterprise. The Vulcans kind of come off as kind of this pompous, a little bit overbearing.
Not a fan favorite, yeah.
Yeah, and they're not likable. And Jeffrey Combs, like you said, is fantastic. I loved him as Wayoon in DS9. Great. But I think the moment is when he and Archer come face to face, and you can tell that this is a pink skin that has proven his worth to Shran. He said this is the guy that can help us overcome this conflict. And I thought it was interesting too, because it just shows you that Shran is a leader that it doesn't need to go to violence. He sees another way. He sees it, which is interesting because of course the Vulcans want to get at it. Let's get the soldiers, let's take this thing over. But Shran sees a different way. He sees a different path forward, one of peace and one of negotiation. And so he makes the call and they send Archer, which is so wonderful because of course Archer, this is what the 15th episode of season 2.
Yeah.
He's got a season and a half full of dislike of the Vulcans. And now we're going to set you down in the middle of a conflict that they are a big part of. And, we want you to solve it. So I think it's a really, I like the part, I like the when Shran and Archer are face to face for that first time.
Yeah.
Shran is giving, what he wants, what he knows. But Archer knows some of that stuff. It's just not going to happen. Well, Shran knows that as well. And so it's funny how he's putting his faith in a pigskin to kind of get this over the finish line. So
yeah,
again, Jeffrey Combs and Scott Bakula, I think they're really good together. So I thought that the whole time. So
yeah, for sure. And what's interesting too is that with Archer being this middleman for the Vulcans and the Andorians, you see, you obviously you can kind of see Archer kind of leaning towards the Andorians because the Vulcans are so not likable, especially Ambassador Saval, and he's just being an a-hole to him, being like, why does he want to see you? Like, what are you doing? It's like automatically the humans are causing trouble when he's like, I was asked to come over here. I don't know what you're talking about, because in their mind, logic is just, we just fight and we just do this and we just take over whatever that they were trying to do. But, Sean was really trying to showcase, like, I don't want my people to die anymore. I really want peace. I really want that conflict to end. And we need someone who's neutral. They had just met. He clearly left a lasting impression. And he also knew that he wasn't a big fan of the Vulcans. So he's like, he's going to help us. But unfortunately for Shran is that, he had the unfortunate problem with one of his own people, which was a Tara, which of course was, Susie. Susie Plaxton. Thank you. She was using Shran in order to get what she wanted out of this. She was kind of acting like Saval, like the Vulcans, like, we're just going to do it one way and we're going to get our way, when he was trying to stop it all. Because if they just kept going at it, it was going to last forever. Like, this was never going to resolve, and I think that was the unfortunate thing for him. But Archer was able to figure that out. Now, Sean says, don't forget the Tellarite hostility to the Andorians. Yes. And that Sean and Archer duel and Sean loses an antenna. There's always some great moments, particularly with these two. Now, when it came to Ra, Susie's character and her playing, Shran and kind of manipulated him, trying to get him to see it her way. Did you think that she might succeed and that Archer might get caught in the middle? Or did you feel like Shran might, see through that later on?
Well, I mean, because it's television, I assumed that Shran would see through it and get to it. And it was just it's a great, another one of those great little examples of a land conflict, a planet conflict. We've had multiple of those in the Star Trek realm. And there's always, when the leader talks peace, that's not necessarily what those underneath him believe and want. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, she is very manipulative, and I'd say she was manipulating the situation with the skill of a Romulan.
Yeah.
But she, again, Shran sees this way forward that is peaceful and will not claim lives. She's going, no, and more, there are more of us. He even says, I'm not alone. Mm-hmm. They're willing to fight it out and see what comes of it. And so, I mean, in terms of it, did I see it? Yeah. I mean, I assumed it would be wrapped up positively at the end.
So. Yeah. I mean, did you see this when it aired for the first time, or was this?
I believe I did, because there were parts of it I went, oh, yeah, I remember that. But I mean, I would not tell you that I had intimate knowledge of it before I watched it. I think I told you I watched it twice in a row after you sent me the thing, just to get it. But some parts were very familiar. But
yeah. Now, I just finished Enterprise. Yay, I did it. But I've only done one, like, straight through season. So, of course, I had to be all like, ceasefire. Okay, which one? And then as I was reading about it, finally, I was like, oh, right, this one. Okay. Particularly the fact that it had Susie in it. I was like, oh, that's the one.
She's great too.
She's like the female Jeffrey Combs, right? Like any character she's given is just awesome. Yeah.
She does a great
Sean
job.
says, I haven't watched it in years, with Sean really high up in authority. Yes. But here's the thing with Archer. Like I said, he's clearly not a fan of the Vulcans, and he really wants to understand where Sean's coming from. But he did show trust in the sense that he's like, I'm not going to trust your, chief of security Vulcan guy, but I'm going to show you someone I trust. And he brought T'Pol. And what's great about T'Pol is that she also was, as much as she agreed with what the Vulcans were saying, obviously, because that's just what she knew, she was trusting Archer to make the right decision. But then you kind of see that conflict between T'Pol and Soval. right? And her standing her ground and her being able to. So there was a lot of little, you know, aspects to this episode, you know, with Shran and Tara and Archer and Shran and Saval and T'Pol, like all these little moments with each of these groups. But then of course you have Trip on the Enterprise, who's just like wanting to protect the captain as much as he could and unsure how this is going to go. So there's a lot happening, but it didn't feel like it was too like disheveled, right? Like it was just like all over the place. It connected really well. Like it made sense. I know we had talked about, I can't remember the name of the episode, but it was basically the Enterprise episode where like they had to figure out what Malcolm's favorite food was for his birthday. And then I think it was like Silent Enemy. And then they had to figure out this enemy that they had no idea about. It felt like two totally different stories that didn't really work, but this one did. Was there a moment in this episode that really stood out for you? Just not with the characters, but something that you were like, oh, this is really interesting and maybe made you think a little bit?
Well, I think what the interesting part for me was because the whole Vulcan thing in Archer is so fascinating because he trusts them not at all for 2 seasons at least. You know, T'Pol is foisted on him early on. He doesn't trust her. He definitely has a thing about the Vulcans. He feels like they've just been, you know, soft peddling their wares, or that we're children and they're trying to look after us. And so I thought that at the end when Saval, you know, says you were not really meddlesome in this, suddenly you start to see the kernels of a little bit of respect, a little bit of trust. You know, T'Pol he clearly trusts her as well, which is a big step up from most of season 1, where he's just annoyed she's around. And he just feels she's there to spy on him, which I think she is. And you see her changing too. She's starting to respect Captain Archer, his vision for the Enterprise and what the Enterprise mission is. So I just thought that last bit was really kind of this little ice-breaking moment where Saval maybe start to view Archer in a different light, and Archer probably went, oh, you know, it's not a passive-aggressive slight at me. He's actually saying I was decent. I guess it's a little aggressive, but you know,
right.
I thought that was a really interesting moment. Is that you see if you know the history of Enterprise up to that moment, you realize the Vulcan Archer dynamic has been very adversarial, and suddenly little tiny bit of the ice breaking. That's how I saw it.
Nice. Now the moment for me actually was because when Saval really had no choice but to trust Archer. Right, to really understand his tactic in all of this, you know, because it was those other Vulcans were like, no, this is not logical. Like you can't do this. And his mind, like, well, it seems like this is the only logical step that we have, and we're just going to have to deal with it, even if he doesn't agree, right? So even though they go down, and of course they're being attacked by the Andorians, even Saval started to realize there's something else. Like there's something else going on. And even though he had that moment with T'Pol where she said, I haven't been contaminated. Is that what she said? By the humans? Yeah. That I think this was kind of the turning point for Saval. Because later on, Saval really does become an asset for Archer, right? Like he does end up being more trustworthy, and things start to be a lot better relationship than they had before. But, you know, Saval had to see like firsthand that even though Archer's ideas or tactics don't seem logical, they do have a purpose and they do have a good ending to it and everything. And so I think this was kind of the turning point for him. I think. Do you agree? Or
yeah, it certainly could be. I think Archer really earned some points there, earned his respect. I mean, you know, so Saval wants to go to the safety of his people when they crash. Archer's going, no, we need to get to Shran and get this discussion going. And so Archer, of course, he's trusts his instincts. This is where we need to go. Quick calculation, I think Saval initially resisted that, but then he sees, you know, that's really successful. You know, real quick, another moment I thought was really great was when they were at the table on the ship towards the end, and Shran pours a drink. And Saval goes, well, Klingons don't, or Vulcans don't drink. But in that moment, he realized that in the pursuit of peace, this is the time to take the glass and share a toast with Shran. I thought that was a real big moment in terms of what they're going to try to accomplish with this planet. So that's not.
And of course, they had to do the little joke though, because didn't Shran say something like, "Oh, he's gonna like you at some point," and Archer's like, "Don't bet on it," you know.
Right.
Another, I feel like full circle moment too was, and this is just kind of a side thing, but I thought it was funny when Archer had seen Shran and he made that little quip about, oh, I thought that I would be, for negotiations of or something like that, it would be around a table and stuff like that, not being blindfolded and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, pink skin sarcasm or something like that. But then when Shran shows up and sees Archer fighting Tara, and Tara's all like, see, he's trying to kill me and everything, but Soval's injured. Archer's all like, so I guess I shot him to like, so there's like this little, he's like, just to prove my point or to, fake it. And there was I think that's where Shran was all like, okay, he's being sarcastic again, but this might mean something, So it's those little moments that I think this episode really stood out. And this is actually a pretty decent favorite because I think I was looking at IMDb and it's pretty high up there. So it's nice that we had these moments. I think the first couple of seasons of Enterprise were really good and had strong episodes, but I was not a fan of the third season because of the whole Xindi storyline. I couldn't get into it. Like, I know, still haunting me to this day, but I got through it, guys. I did it. It's like season 2 of TNG. Like, I finished it. It's fine. I understand the stories. But like I said, there's just a lot of moments here that really, really worked for it. Now, Ruth says, I watched it when it came out and enjoyed it, but I'm a Bakula fan, so I'll have to watch it again. And of course, Sean also did say, I watched the first couple of episodes of Enterprise when it first came out, but wasn't a fan originally. Then years later, I gave it another try and ended up loving it.
It's funny, those comments, because that's something I hear a lot of, is that it was hard to get into early, but people came back to it later and really enjoyed it. And again, I think because it was the start of things and everybody was used to a certain level of Star Trek. This is what we've had. So what now we're going to go back and where things are a little more, rusty and, it's a little odd. I don't think we even have a holodeck on this thing. And I think I noticed that people, as they've gotten older or stepped away from a few years, come back to it and go, oh yeah, really like this. Yeah. I would put myself in that category.
But I mean, I think that's with all the shows. Like, how many times have we heard that, Deep Space Nine was not really given a chance because they're not on a ship. They're just stuck at a space station. But now it's literally like so many favorites that it's kind of surpassing TNG in a lot of ways because people just find it so interesting, especially because of the characters and the character growth and just how Sisko was. And it's just, I think over time, and maybe just because as people got older, they just kind of began to understand it a little bit more or see where they were like trying to go with. I know a lot of people who had started with TNG, they were kids and they were like, oh, this is funny, whatever. But as they got older, like, oh, that wasn't funny. That wasn't good. And then they see it in a new light, And I think that's just the same with any show. So many shows later on sometimes have an uptick. Just look at the start of Star Trek. Like, it got canceled after 3 seasons, but it's still here 60 years later, Yeah.
So
I think it's just a good testament.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's what Star Trek does. It provides you access at any time. You can access Star Trek anytime, anywhere in your life's journey. And you're going to understand it a little differently, let's say, 35 than you did at 25 and differently at 50 than you did at 25. And I think that's what that's kind of the magic of Star Trek. You're always invited in. There's all this different stuff. And so it's okay. Some of it you're not going to like, some of it you're going to love, but that's okay. And I don't think there are a lot of shows that are like that. Come when you're ready. We're here. And if you don't like this and that, that's fine. But we got this over here. You might love this. So yeah, DS9 is mine. I think there's just a herd of characters I love on that show, and Star Trek is open arms. Whenever you want to come to us, let's take a look. See what we got.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, everyone knows I came into this really, really late. Okay. I'm only a toddler. I'm 4 years old in the Trek universe. But my husband actually had a really good question when I did my panel at Gem State. He actually, because he's being supportive. He's in the audience and he's like, I have a question. And his question actually was, I mean, I started as an adult. He's like, but if you saw it as a kid, he's like, would you still love Beverly Crusher or would you love another character or something different? I was like, oh, that's a good question, husband. That's why we're married. And the thing was like, I don't know, because at the time when I was growing up in the 90s, I loved Xena. Xena was a big show that I watched all the time and stuff. So I was like, maybe. But one of the biggest reasons I loved Beverly Crusher was because she was a single mom. Definitely wasn't a single mom at, 8, 9 years old. Right. So when TNG came out. So I might have liked Beverly for a different reason, or I might have been in love with a totally different character. Like you said, we all just have our different, we grow up and things change, and then we see characters and storylines in a different light and we appreciate it differently, right? Yeah. So it's interesting. Now, speaking of Beverly, Beverly podcast. Speaking of her, if Beverly, let's do a WWBD. What would Beverly do in this situation if she, let's say, instead of Archer, she's being asked to, negotiate something. Now, she kind of did this in Suspicions because she was trying to negotiate with the scientists and, bring people together, and that did not go well. But do you see where she might land? Would she be more Team Vulcan or Team Andorians?
I think she'd be more Team Andorian. I think she would, again, the Vulcans in Enterprise are off-putting, I think, at all times. Yeah. And so I think she would. The great thing about Beverly Crusher is, and now I'm just going to let you know, not one of my favorite characters, but she's smart, capable, great senses, good intuition, and she's a mom, so she clearly is going to have all those things. But also, she's the head of medicine in the Enterprise. She would take a different tact, and hopefully she wouldn't get shot down in the middle of the war zone. But I think she would be tough and forthright and dialed into what needs to be done in much the same way Archer was. I think she would be a pistol as a negotiator.
Well, I mean, it was one of those things, like, that's why I brought up Suspicions, because she was trying to be her, like, first diplomatic type situation, trying to bring all these different people together for one goal. And of course, like Shran and Tara, she had Joe Brill, who ruined it all. And then, of course, even Rhaegar died. Like, shit went down, unfortunately, for Beverly, but it was all because someone else wanted an advantage and did this cockamamie story of like, oh, I died and this happened, and and she had to figure it out. With Beverly, I agree. Totally Team Andorians. Find the peace, figure it out. Stop trying to fight each other. But it's still just, like Suspicions. She just loves a good mystery, right? Like, she would be all like, now, why is this happening? She might have figured out about Tara sooner than Archer did, right? Because she's so like, what is she has that sixth sense, whole point. She was kind of that first person in cause and effect. She sensed something was going on. She sensed something was happening, even though they were going through the loop. It was her story. She was the main person that was really trying to get everyone on board before it, did it all over again. And that's just part of her character. Now, to a fault, because sometimes, she wants to push so hard of like, I need to find out what's wrong, that she'll, break protocol. Sorry. Not a good look for Beverly, but, sometimes she's right and sometimes she's wrong. But I think in this, she would definitely be like Archer, just trying to figure out, make the peace, even with people she doesn't like, and see how that goes. Sean did say that started original Star Trek in the early 80s, and also DS9 is my favorite too. DS9 has launched anytime I've asked people who their favorite Trek is or what their Trek is, DS9 was like the top answer last season because that was the question that I had. But this one, there's been a lot. This was my first Giorgio, so I love that. I've gotten Tilly, I've gotten Beverly, I've gotten Jadzia, Kira. That just showcased there's so many different characters, like you said, so many different shows that fans can like. You might not like this one, but you might like this one, and that's what's great about it. So, of course, as every Star Trek episode, there is a happy ending like we were hoping for. Did you hope for the happy ending? I know I kind of asked sort of this question earlier, but did you hope for it? Did you really want maybe more conflict or maybe more of a story out of it instead of just them wrapping it up in a nice little bow and handing it to us?
Well, if I had my druthers, to be honest with you, I would have loved to have seen this been a two-parter where the conflict continues on and the negotiations and there's shenanigans going on both sides. But I mean, yeah, I was fine with it. It kind of ended it in this, well, we solved it, so we're going to talk, rather than give us any many details of, well, how exactly did you I mean, I guess you saved his couple lives and Shran realized you're a man of integrity and he could trust, which he suspected already. But I was fine with the ending. It was a good, and again, the ending was a good segue into what's coming after, which is Saval sees maybe Archer in a different light. And I think that's a good thing because, again, like I said, this was a good 2-season thing of Archer and the Vulcans just not enjoying each other, not at all. So
no, for sure.
And again, the Vulcans were just unpleasant, just passive aggressive with their comments, So.
Oh yeah.
But I thought there was a good moment at the end, the way it ended with the toast, with the drink, and then Saval saying that you were not totally meddlesome in this situation was a really interesting turn potentially of the relationship. So
yeah, for sure. Sean also says my favorite three are Shran, Quark, and Garrick.
Quark and Garrick, two of my faves. I got a couple
Can't go
in my
wrong.
closet.
Okay, I'm gonna let you know. So my cherry tree.
Mm-hmm.
It does all the computer, stuff and everything. And I have my little Defiant USB stick. Okay. Mm-hmm. They actually just came out. There's the USB stick. They're coming out with a gold pressed latinum USB stick. So.
Well, that's funny you should say that because when I was at Star Trek Las Vegas 2 years ago, there's a push for this independent movie, and I can't remember the name of it. But the gig was they had gold pressed latinum bars, and I said, God, I'd love to buy one of those. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll give you one if you go out into the hall and get us 50 signatures on this petition. So I did. I said, well, yeah, I'll go. I grabbed the petition. I'm out in the hall. I'm canvassing people and stuff like that. And so I got this. I don't have it. It's not here. It's a gold pressed latinum bar that I got from Star Trek Las Vegas. So
a question, was that letters for Legacy?
Was it Legacy? I don't know. It's a fan. It's something that's kind of been in the wind for about 3 or 4 or 5 years. And it's that might be it. I don't recall.
Because I know Sean and who started all this and everything, and they would go out and get signatures and help with fans and things like that. And I feel like he did have gold press latinum on his table because he was my vendor neighbor last year, and so we were talking about that. But they're also it might have been, that's why it was so funny. But they're actually doing a separate thing from Legacy, which is called United for Archer. So United #4 and then archer.org, where they are going to try and push about having Star Trek United, which I thought, this is a perfect time to mention that as I'm doing an Enterprise episode. So if you guys want to learn more information, I believe that's the website right now. I'm not sure if it fully launched yet, but it is United, #4 archer.org, and they have a lot of fun things coming up over at STLV. So if you are headed to STLV, there's, definitely head to their table and you can chat it up with Sean and the gang.
But it was the same folks. I think
probably,
Legacy, when you said Legacy, I thought, that sounds like it.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, Star Trek Legacy, hell yeah. I mean, get Jack Crusher, we get Captain Seven, and we see Rafi, and maybe some Beverly, moments. But there's always room to have multiple TV shows. We could have Legacy, or United, and even though I don't want it, but I'm sure other people do. Year One, which is the Kirk with Paul Wesley. Let's get all this Trek. Let's get all of it. Just let's green light it all. We get more Trek, and we're all happy little fans. But as we, right, as we wrap this up, though,
Preach it, sister.
Now, as we wrap this up, do you have one more thing to say about this episode that you wanted to mention, or was it just a good old?
It was a good Star Trek episode. I think the thing again that stands out to me is knowing Archer's arc up to that point, and his dislike and distrust of the Vulcans, and to see his trust into Paul, and because he didn't want to go. He didn't want to deal with the Vulcans. But I just thought that, knowing what comes next, they go, that was just really kind of an interesting little turn there, that Soval has a little different feeling maybe about Archer. I thought that was good. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
See, Jeffrey Combs is always glorious. So
you can't go wrong.
No.
You can't go wrong at all. Actually, I did also want to do a shout out that Captain's Quadrant, when they were at Trek Long Island, I believe they interviewed Jeffrey Combs. So definitely check it out because they had a panel. So since we're doing a Jeffrey Combs Enterprise episode, United for Archer and Jeffrey Combs interview. But let's see what the listeners decided to rate this episode with the tricorder rating.
My tricorder.
All right, so I got 3 whole votes. Woohoo! 33%. So 1 vote went to 5 treatings. So this person was like, "Mwah, this is a perfect episode." 2 people, 67%, said it was 4. Did I even spell this right? I think it was supposed to be something radiation. I completely misspelled that. But anyways, 0% for 3 pink skins, 2 mutagenic pathogen, and 0 for 1 terraforming. Now, where do you land here in the 1 through 5? 5 obviously being the best episode ever, and 1 being I absolutely hated it.
I'm probably about a couple pink skins with a little bit of radiation thrown in. So like about a 3.2. I don't.
Okay.
I think it's a good episode. I don't think it's a really good episode, nor a great one. But I think it's a good Star Trek episode that moves a couple pieces along, and I think that's a good Star Trek episode. So yeah. So a couple pink skins with radiation. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I think I wrote analeptic radiation. Not sure if that was the actual word in the episode. I could be wrong. I don't know. I wrote this at like 5 a.m. when I had to write this all out, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But I do give it a 4. I think it's not perfect. Okay. But like you said, it's a good Star Trek episode. It does hit many points. Like I said, there's a lot of aspects happening at the same time, but they fit well together. I love the little duos that we've seen throughout. And, Trip just wanting to always protect the captain and was going against orders and doing whatever he wanted. I like that Trip. And was not happy what happened at the end. He did not die.
And Trip gets a moment where he puts himself between the Andorians and the Vulcans. So he gets a moment to kind of shine in there where he says, "Look, I know this is the right thing to do." So
yeah.
And that should be mentioned that he does have that moment where he puts himself in harm's way.
He has that moment because he trusts his captain. Like he just knows, he's all like, as much as everyone's kind of like, "Why are we doing this?" And he's like, just you wait.
That's
and just you wait. Do want to give a shout out to Phlox because that was the clip that I showed. That was the only scene he had in this episode. But he did kind of start the seed a little bit like, how funny how you've had this whole issue with the Vulcans this entire time, but yet when you are needed, they come running, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think kind of helped with Archer and trying to figure out what was going on,
Right.
But yeah, so But let's already go ahead and let me just make sure I have, tricorder rating. My next episode is going to happen in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to have guest Rick. And so we're going to find out what that episode's going to be. It's funny because you were talking about Enterprise is the very beginning. Well, this is the very, very, very beginning where no man has gone before. I am going to the original series. I'm not even sure if I've ever actually done an original series review. So this is a first for everything, guys. But I knew I had to do it at some point. Nope, that's a lie. I did do, what's that one? City on the Edge of Forever. I did do that one. That's a good episode. But yes, we're going way back to the start of it all. And it's perfect for the 60th anniversary because this episode is going to be dropping just before I go to STLV to celebrate the 60th anniversary. And like I said, I will have guest Rick with me. So again, join us in the chat. It's going to be loads of fun. But let's go ahead and also jump into my redhead alert. Don't forget about my giveaway, guys. Once I reach 1,000 followers on Instagram and 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I will be giving away an autographed photo from Graves McFadden to one lucky listener. If you're enjoying my content, please help spread the word by sharing it with your friends. Every share brings me one step closer to reaching my goal. And I do want to say that I have gotten a lot of extra subscribers and followers on Instagram right now, and I have just hit 5,000 downloads on the audio, so on the podcast version. So thank you guys so much. Really, really appreciate it. Also, I love to hear your thoughts. So please submit your penny by recording a 60 to 90 second audio clip at crusherconvo.com, or you can email me your thoughts at crusherconvo@gmail.com. And I may feature your penny and share it live on the show. Always pay attention to my Instagram or even TikTok or Threads or Blue Sky. I will post on what episode I'm going to be doing next, so you can send me your penny about that episode. But I really love it when you guys record. It definitely makes it on the show. And of course, my Patreon shout outs go to Leslie, Dave, Grayson, and Elisa, who are my Commander patrons, and Chuck, Engineer Mark, and Johannes Borg, who are my Admiral patrons. If you would like to support the podcast and enjoy exclusive extra content, just head over to patreon.com/Crusher Convo, and you can sign up as low as $3 a month. So, John, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Had such a wonderful conversation. Please let the listeners know where they can find you.
Well, thanks for having me. I hope you'll have me back because I love to talk about Trek. I'm on Threads, Baker at the Con, all one word, no and. It's just spelled out, Baker at the Con. I'm also on Blue Sky, Baker J at whatever comes after that. And what else am I on? Oh, I'm on Instagram at Baker at the Con. So that's if you're up for chatting about this stuff more often, I am there. I will also, can I make a quick pitch?
Absolutely.
So my sister and I are going to run a meetup at Rose City Comic Con coming up in September. But I wanted to mention from a Star Trek perspective, they just announced that Anson Mount, Christina Chung, and Ethan Peck will be at this year's Rose City Comic Con in Portland, Oregon. I live out here in Oregon, so that will be fun. So if you're at Rose City Comic Con, look for our over 50 meetup, and we'll have a little fun. But that's that.
Do you know Open Pike podcast?
I do not.
Definitely hit them up. They might be there.
What's the name?
Open Pike.
Open Pike. I need a pen to write this down.
Right? Don't worry.
I'll be looking up right now.
I'll show you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, please do. That'd be even better if somebody could show
I'll show you it. But they, obviously, Pike's in the word, so they talk strange new worlds. They've had amazing interviews. I know the boys. They're amazing. But as, like, the pun, open mic, they have people actually, like, telling, recording and giving their insight or questions or whatever, and then they discuss it around that. Loads of fun. Yeah. but I know that they're kind of in the area, so they actually might be there, and maybe you might see them with those lovely people that are going to be there. But yeah, just, so yeah, I've just been name dropping today. So what did I say? Open Pike earlier. I think let's say it's got Star Trek was here last time. Let's just drop, name dropping everybody.
Good for you. Drop 'em.
They're all my friends. I gotta love. I gotta share the love, right? Boost the signal, Ed. You're doing great. But you know what, guys? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, John, for joining me. And as always, everyone, live long and prosper. And thank you to everyone that was in the chat. Bye.
Crusher out.